Morning. Who am I? And let's get started. We're just going to be talking about the meaning of reality. What the hell's going on? Not not conditional specific facts, but more like what's what's the general theme? What's the meaning? What's the meaning of life? What's the meaning of this moment? Who are we? Actually, I find it really interesting. I'm watching two sides try to battle one another. One is the government side and with its philosophies and beliefs, and the other one being the pro-democracy side that's trying to overthrow the authoritarian and reestablish the rule of law. And it's all very interesting because it appears that both sides keep trying to throw each other away. Both sides, one side sort of unconsciously, and the other one more overtly, keep trying to throw people away, keep trying to subtract people out of the equation. On the one side, you have people who, with legitimacy in some ways, want to throw people into prison because they've committed crimes, and then they have sentences and they should stay there. But for some reason, because of these other factors, they keep circulating back and they keep coming back out into the outside world, either through recidivism or recently with lots of pardons coming from our president who wants these players back out on the field. Michael Flynn, all the people from January 6th, people who bribe him and, compliment him and stuff. Yeah, I'll give you a pardon. Ghislaine Maxwell might be getting a pardon. And oh my God, will the whole world erupt if he does that? He wants to do it, but he's afraid to do it. She's probably saying, you better do it, or I'm going to take you down. And he's like, yeah, but if I do it, then they're going to take me down. And oh my God. Anyway, I don't want to go down a specific rat hole or anything because my general point is let's back out of this situation for a second and actually look at our situation. Who are we and what is actually happening? Because we are a oneness. And no matter how much either side tries to subtract players from the field, God don't want these players subtracted. God wants us to figure out who we are and come back together as a wholeness that is humanity. And the way we've got to do that is we've got to focus on the concept of humanity and ponder it as our primary nature. We are humanity. We are not Democrats. We are not Republicans. We are not Americans. We are not Russians. We are not black. We are not white. We are not gay. We are not straight. We are not children. We are not elderly. We are humanity. We are human beings. And there's something very sacred and special about that. And that in itself is actually something that is being questioned, and it's sort of being questioned on both sides. Because when you hate the haters and want to throw away the haters and want to subtract the haters, because if only we could get rid of the haters, then all of us would just love each other. You're misunderstanding our nature and the nature of the situation that we find ourselves in. We are a wholeness, whether we like it or not, whether we have calculated that in or whether we have not calculated that in, it is still true. And so if we haven't calculated that in, then our calculations are off. We are one, and we cannot throw each other away. We have to fix ourselves. We have to understand ourselves. We have to be ourselves. Now, I'm going to give us some tools to work with this because it isn't as hard as you would think. First of all, blank your mind of specific conditions because they don't matter. This, what we're going to talk about, is going to it's going to work no matter what your specifics are, no matter where you came from or what specific thing you're dealing with or who you are, whether you're male, female, old, young, black, white, green, yellow, purple. It doesn't matter. The conditions here don't matter. What we're going to talk about are the laws of the universe and the fundamental, foundational principle pillars that hold up the matrix of reality around us. How this matrix functions, how you function within the matrix, what you're made of, how this all works. We're going to unpack it. Every day we're going to unpack it a little more, a little more, a little more, as we try to get to the bottom of what the problem actually is. And I want to get to the problem, to the root of this, because I don't like this problem. I want to live in a world where we are doing the kinds of things that human beings are absolutely capable of doing. And we can do all of this more and better than we have ever done before in all of history when we understand who and what we are and we lean into it consciously and do it deliberately. Let's be deliberate creators as a species. Let's do it. Let's stop this fragmented nonsense that we keep doing, this outward projection, this imagining that the outside world is the primary force that you should be. You know what? I realize I have a light off. Let me turn that on really quick. I don't know how much of a difference that made, but I do have my full. I know it's not a very light studio and it's dark behind me, but my face is reasonably lighted. I think this works. And as long as you can hear my voice, I'm an older woman, so the soft focus is more my speed anyway. So who are we? And what does it mean to be a human being? And how does our equipment function? It's really very interesting the way, and you can take, if you take 100% of your emotion out of and just look neutrally at the entire universe, you can start adding it up and you can see, oh, wow. But it doesn't actually work that way because it is our interest, our excitement, the things that we feel about that is actually what's imprinting the most. Who am I? And what is my design? What is my nature? How does this work? You cannot throw me away because each and every one of us is part of an integrated wholeness. It's like having a jigsaw puzzle where you're trying to, you want to put it together, but you keep wanting to throw pieces out of it. And then you don't understand why you can't put it together, why it doesn't work right. It's because we are a wholeness, people. And in order for us really to understand how to be together, how to make it into the future, into our future of joyful sustainability, freedom, um, cooperation. What are all the things that we're headed for? And we would get there quicker. I mean, the United States was well on its way with many, many things, many lovely things of positive organization in place on the ground. But what has happened? The problem is we've got a whole big part of the field is spinning in a counter motion. And what that's doing to the field is it's crashing shit. It's like a whole big spin got turned and you got all of this traffic coming head on at you instead of all of us flowing together. There's this, and it's causing disruption and chaos, and um, the way people are trying to solve it on both sides of the equation, some more drastically and heinously than the other side, but they're both trying to subtract each other. On the one side, you want to subtract the bad players by hunting them down with the law and the truth, and um, and then squirreling them away into prisons. But I'm sorry, to the mission of humanity, the prison system isn't that great either, and actually has been causing tremendous disruption in the humanitarian field. The way we have been trying to humanely throw people away, not the ones who are going to overtly throw us away, like put us into those prisons where then, we purposefully make the conditions harsh so that people die quickly, you know. There's that kind of throw them away. Or, just the Sing Sings and the Alcatrazes, and well, Alcatraz isn't actually open anymore. I'm not sure Sing Sing is either. I don't know. Some of the more notorious hellhole prisons, we have closed them, and well, we should. We shouldn't be opening up more. We should be moving in the other direction. More civilization, more civilization. Civilization is the act of orderly um, uh, organization in the order of, I don't know if it's a clockwise motion. I'm not sure if it's clockwise or counterclockwise. I don't know. But the anti is the opposite. The chaos is the opposite. You can't get them both going, and you have to. It sounds like I'm speaking metaphorically, but I'm actually speaking literally, because we live in a world where the main actual physical motion that is going on in the field is spin. Space-time is spinning. It is all spinning. And the motion that looks like relative motion between different objects that don't appear to be spinning, one is just, moving that way and the other one's moving that way. Maybe one's on a train and the other one isn't. Maybe I'm wearing something and walking past something else. I don't know. Things are moving, right? What they're actually doing is spinning. Slightly separately, slightly different speeds, all here right next to us, spinning with a larger field that's spinning with a spin that's spinning with other spins. Our Earth is spinning. We're all spinning together with the Earth. And then the Earth is going around the sun, which is spinning, and we're all orbiting that sun. And then together as a collective motion, we're going around the galaxy, and then we're going around the universe. And but there's spins within spins within spins, but the entire field is spinning together. And that collective spin, that one where we are all together spinning, that foundational one, that one, that one connects us all. That is source. That is our source. Source is a spin of matter. But there's a center of that spin, a singularity at the center of that spin, because it's a vortex of, it's a, it's a singularity at the center of a black hole. Is what it is. And the entire universe is spinning around this singularity. And then within that universal black hole, there's lots of other black holes, turns out, mathematically speaking, and practically speaking also, because a black hole doesn't actually act the way we thought it would. That tight spin at the center of the singularity causes matter to be thrown out. It's hard to, it doesn't suck things in. It's not like that. Things orbit, or what, they just don't act quite the way that we thought that they did, because a proton is a black hole. It's a little black hole, a little vortex of spinning ether. The ether is the Plancks, and at the center of this is a vortex of spinning a field of these Plancks, this Planck ether, that actually within the proton, every Planck within that field of the proton, with that singularity at the center and this little field of ether spinning, every one of those Plancks is representing a proton out there in the universe somewhere. They're reflecting the same number. They're a holographic representation. And what's happening is across this Planck field, every instantaneous instant, every Planck instant, as things are moving, the Plancks are uploading their information to the whole. And the whole is downloading its information to every Planck. And what that does is it's sharing the information of the universe across scales, from the universal to the Planck. And this motion, this movement of information and energy is what source energy is. It's what we are made of. It's why the universe is holographic. And it's why we can talk about our situation as a wholeness, and why we need to talk about it as a wholeness, and why you can't deal with it by subtracting parts of it. You've got to deal with it by adding it all together, understanding what it is you're looking at, and then responding appropriately in order to get more of what you want and not more of what you don't want. I mean, you can go in there with your hair on fire and stir things up. You can make things move, but are you actually fixing anything? Are you making it better, or are you just making it angrier? How does it work? Because ultimately, you want your actions to be effective. You want to be doing what it takes to actually fix the situation. I am not interested in tilting windmills. I want to understand what it is I'm actually dealing with. And so my knee-jerk reaction is to hate the haters. And of course, that's a natural reaction. But that's part of when you just go with your natural reaction, what you end up with is a polarized field. And the problem in this moment is not so much specifics, as in that guy, he might be playing the role of the villain in this part of the play. But if you try to go after him and pin him down, you'll find that the villain just appears over there. And it's like a hydra in a way. You cut it down and 10 more. You think that all they have to do is assassinate Trump, because Trump is the problem, right? Assassinate Trump and it'll be all okay. No, it won't be okay. And the reason it won't is because the actual problem is a mindset. The actual problem is a philosophy. The actual problem is a misunderstanding of our actual reality. And killing the main guy who is just acting out this role is not going to fix it, because what's actually going to happen is a more competent wielder of this ideology, this belief that it's us versus them, and that it's a zero-sum game, and that there are bad people and good people, and there's some that are better than others, and there's some of us who are even the way, way better. You can tell those people because they have all the stuff. And because they're the best people, they're the ones who are most qualified to be able to determine who the rest of the bad people are. So we need to start building systems of rounding up all the bad people and disappearing them, getting rid of them, subtracting them, because this philosophy says that there are bad people And so, in order for society to function properly, we've got to identify and get rid of those bad people. And so, if there's bad people, well, there aren't bad people. There is bad freaking philosophy. And you murder the bad people, and the philosophy keeps going. You have somebody at the top who in their something about the way they are just wields that philosophy in a more nuclear kind of way, and you think, well, I'll just get rid of that person and then it'll be fine. But it won't be fine, because it's not the person that's the problem, it's the condition. It's that disease, it's that mindset, it's that philosophy. And it's not just that, it's that combined with human psychology, which we're going to have a layman's discussion about. Not exactly what they would teach you in philosophy in college, which I did take, but this is more of a paraphrasing, mishy-mashy, generalized, uh, uh, my version. Sorry if that added heater sounds. I'm cold, and so I had to turn my heater up just a little bit. But so we're going to talk about a little bit about psychology, but I'm going to use my own words. I'm going to paraphrase it in my own way. Human beings have a tendency to a psychological condition that my friend, who I have never met, Paul Levy, refers to as Wetiko. And he's written a number of books about this and talked about his own history and where his particular um, expertise comes from. Where are his bona fides? Where do they come from? What does he know, and why does he know it? And then he puts it in his own particular way. He sort of blends Jungian psychology, Buddhist philosophy, and quantum physics. And it's a really beautiful blend. He's an interesting man. It appears a little awkward, but he's brilliant. And what he puts together is, I think it's quite genius. It's very well do, uh, bibliographied. You know, he always references quotes from the founding fathers of physics and the different places that he takes his philosophy from. And then anyway, it doesn't matter. This is Wetiko disease is a blindness. It's a psychic blindness. And it's a tendency to be able to see your truth, but you can't see anybody else's. And so you get stuck in this place where you think that you can see better than anybody else, that nobody else can see this. You know you're right. And you are right, because what you're right about is a perspective. And how can you be wrong about your own perspective? What you're saying is, it looks like this from where I'm standing. And of course, you're right. Everybody's right. Everybody's right as they claim it looks like this, it looks like this, it looks like this. Well, of course, if you're saying it looks like something from where you're standing, well, how can you be wrong? Of course, it looks like that. Let's go this way. But what you may be wrong about, so the actual picture of the truth is not just the pure, clear view from where you stand, which is absolutely blessed and pure and true and correct, but it's also from where everybody else stands too. And if you happen to have that condition where you can't see what anybody else can see, then you're limited. You're handicapped. You've got a problem. This is what our dear leader, this is what his problem is. It's kind of what narcissism is. It's an inability to see what anybody else can see. Because as a human being, one of our main abilities is our ability to see through each other's eyes. We have mirror neurons in our brains that immediately translate any experience that I witness as my own experience, and I feel it just like it was mine. That's how come when people are hurt, why we suffer, why it matters that we do that. because we're feeling for the rest of we're feeling ourselves, our collective self, which is, we aren't just our individual self. We are a collective self. And when you do not have an ability to feel the collective self, we shouldn't be electing you leader. That's something humanity is going to have to learn. We're going to have to learn that when you sense this kind of personality, on the one hand, they're compelling because of their clarity of their own view. They see their own view very, very clearly. They do not doubt themselves. They are so sure of themselves. It's very hypnotic to the rest of us, that clarity, when we don't have our own um, um, grounding to source, when we are not solidly locked in our own connection to the divine. This clarity coming from a narcissist is it's seductive to us. It's why why the authoritarian dictator is a problem, is because his very personality resonates with a particular kind of psychic trauma in the world. His clarity in his own vision is seductive, and it just feels like, oh, he's gonna do it because I can just feel his surety. You can tell he's a leader. The problem is that he can only see his own way. Now, that's why he's got the clarity, because he's not bound by a million other voices and, whatever. What would be nice is a leader who could see his own way so clearly, but at the same time, feel empathy for the rest of the field. Who are we? Who are we? We need to understand this whole process and situation, because it's going to keep haunting us. This authoritarian psychosis cycle will continue to haunt us every 80 years or so. It takes as long as it takes for the people who lived through the last one to die out, to the point where the ones alive don't physically remember what that was. Now, it happens in large and small ways. Now, what happened 80 years ago was a really big one. It was the global one, the one that involved us all. And that's why it's actually an interesting one to point to, because it is a visual aid. It is something that everybody can point to. It's a reference point. I can point to that, and then I can talk to people who have had wildly different experiences than me, grew up in different countries in different ways, but we all remember that war, right? We all know what this authoritarian psychosis business is, because humanity has been fighting it forever. There's lots of biblical references to it. Our own revolution was fought against an autocrat. The autocrat comes in all kinds of different forms, both petty and grand. But the grand mal one, that when it encompasses in sweeping ways humanity, leads us to Holocaust. That's what happened last century, when the governmental order was run by a philosophy that imagined that there were some that were better than others, there were some that weren't worth anything at all, and we need to get rid of those because they are just dragging society down. If we can get rid of all the bad ones and make sure that we elevate all the proper ones into government positions, then it'll be all right, right? Well, that did not work very well. All of the cronies got put into government positions. They developed massive machinery for eliminating the bad ones. Look how that turned out. It was horrible. It was absolutely a shit show of inhumanity. It was just horrible. And the worst part about it is that had it succeeded in getting rid of every Jew, every disabled person, every Slav, every Democrat, whatever, whoever they labeled, the ones who needed to go, the dissenters, the disorderly, let's, get rid of all of those. Had they been successful in getting rid of a few more million people so that all they had left was just the MAGA, they would not have created the world they were looking for because they don't understand the principles upon which it operates and the abundance to which it is reaching. Doesn't understand the principles that actually create the beauty, the abundance, the order, the love, the blessed perfection that we're actually meant to be moving towards. We're never going to quite get there, but we're never going to get it wrong either because we're never going to get it done. And we're just sort of moving in a generally expansive way, adding more to the equation. And we need to understand our equipment in order to optimize that movement towards the better, instead of this resistance and knee jerking and lashing out and not understanding. And you got to understand who we are and how this works. We are creatures, we are evolving beings. And there is nothing that will stop the evolution because it is the very nature of the expanding universe. The whole universe around us is expanding in its understanding, it's expanding in its view of itself, it's expanding in its understanding of the field that we all share. It is evolving. And it is evolving in this spinning flow that we are all spinning and flowing with. And so we can resist it. We can even become extinct as human beings. But the universe is expanding, whether we join it or not. But if we understand what it's doing and who we are within it, we can expand with it and we can reap some of those rewards for the step one that we keep living. We can start living them sooner rather than later if we would understand how the setup is set up. How resistance is actually the problem. You need to flow with the expanding field, with your inner being, or looking at everything in terms of, what's flowing with me, what's on the smorgasbord, what can be done with this, what are the possibilities. And your inner being is because she can see everyone else and what they want too, and how what they want meets up with what you want. And if you would find how what you want meets up with what everybody else wants, you'd also be able to do this. Suffice it to say, all you need to do is get along with your inner being, because your inner being is already getting along with the rest of the field. So you don't have to keep popping out and wondering, well, what do they think? Well, what do they think? Well, what do they think? You don't have to do that. What you need to do is understand your own design, your own nature. Go into your own, do your own internal work. Get into alignment with yourself. You get your two selves into alignment with each other. Two selves, you say? Which two selves are we talking about? Well, you have two selves. You have two minds. The one mind is the one you're familiar with, the one that you go to the psychologist to have it, to have help with, or you go to the psychiatrist, or you go to the neurosurgeon or whatever to. There's that mind. That's the one in which you can say, well, my name is blah, 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 and I was born on such and such, and these are all my beliefs. This has been all my experience, and this is what I think. That is one of you. You might go, huh, well, if that's one of me, what's left? What on earth could be, what else can I be? Well, you have a mind, a vibrational vortexual mind, a vortex. You have a mind that is the total mind. It's the collective mind. It's the universal mind, but it's also your mind. And from your perspective, she is keeping track of everything you love. That's why God is love, because from where you're standing, your portion of God is that which you love. And that which you love is tangled up in your thinking, in your mind, as you imagine the things that you want, the objects that you want. Hold on. The object of the exercise, the objects, as you imagine the objects, you think in terms of things that you love, things that I love. What things do I love? Well, I love the color red, and I love horses, and I love dance, and I love and you think of things and conditions and objects that mean certain things to you. You can feel the feelings that you had when you were on that horse, or when you had that family, or the how you feel about your country or whatever. Who you actually are is not the body that you are occupying. Who you actually are is a frequency. You are a frequency. You are an unconditional, continuous frequency that is having experiences. That's the whole point of everything. And then you are continuously remembering these experiences, whether consciously or unconsciously. But you are a continuum of consciousness and experience. You are a frequency, though. You are not your physical body. All of this has to do with the understanding of consciousness itself. What is its nature? And consciousness has to do with the field. The field has a thing that it's doing and being. And then alongside of it is an awareness of it doing and being what it be doing and being. And consciousness is that awareness of the matter. So you can't actually have matter without awareness. You can't have awareness without matter. They are the awareness needs matter to have something to be aware of. Otherwise, it's just awareness that doesn't have anything to be aware of. And that doesn't mean anything. And you could have matter, but nothing's aware of the matter. So what the hell does that mean? That doesn't mean anything either. So that's actually what the system is. That's what, and the whole universe is made of this binary system. And you are this binary system, by the way. You are matter, and then you are an awareness of your matter. But the whole thing is a continuous theme. It runs from way back at the beginning, whenever that was. I have no idea. I mean, in this particular universe big banged about 14 billion years ago. But the Planck that flew off in Hawking radiation from another denser universe and hit this density and went kaboom, it didn't just uh, it didn't just arrive 14 billion years ago. It was already a plonk in another universe. So I don't know when the beginning was. I don't think there was a beginning, frankly. I don't think that you could meaningfully um, talk about a beginning, because before the beginning, there wasn't any meaning. So it's just like a universe that doesn't have any awareness of its matter, or awareness that doesn't have any matter to be aware of. They don't; those things don't make any sense. So, I remember hearing Brian Cox once talk about this expanding universe, and how much it's expanding, and how that it just someday it will be a cold, dead universe with absolutely no life and no awareness of any, whatever. And I can't remember who he was talking to, but it might have been um, and I can't remember his name. British fellow. Hold on a second. Russell Brand. That's who he was talking to. And Russell Brand was saying, "Well, I don't know about you, but that doesn't bother me, because a cold, dead universe with nobody to be aware of it being cold and dead, who cares?" And then I don't even believe that it works that way. And I don't believe that it works that way either. I think that consciousness is a fundamental um, aspect of the physical nature of the universe. I think that consciousness is fundamental. You can't take it out of there. You take it out of there and the whole thing falls apart. And I believe that the original founders of quantum physics absolutely understood that too, by the way. So, I can take this conversation into a lot of different places. We can talk about personal. We can talk about this from a personal uh, perspective, as you're trying to suss out, how to deal with your children, how to deal with your job, how to deal with understanding your fellow human beings, how your own emotions, how to go about um, achieving what in life you want. Because there is a place where your wants and desires are absolutely blessed and clear and aligned, and not in disorder with the field around you. And where that takes place is where you are in alignment with your own inner being. When you are in alignment with your own inner being, like I said before, your inner being is in alignment with the rest of the field. So if you line up with your inner being, you're in alignment with the field. So what does that mean? Your greater self wants us all to succeed, wants the whole field to play cooperatively, joyfully, creatively, um, with all kinds of, wants to play with beauty and abundance and comfort and cleverness and all of that. That's what your inner being, since she is standing at a point where it's like she's standing at our Venn diagram collective point. She's standing at the point where we all agree with one another. And I know that it doesn't seem like there is a place where we all agree, but there is a place where we all agree. And it is a spiritual place. It is a place of knowing, a place of feeling, a place of our humanity. There is a place um, where we all are in this together, where we all have skin in the game, where we all, uh, um, and I'll tell you what it is. There is a clear place of the things that each and every individual human being wants for themselves. Now, whether their beliefs think that everybody else should have it either. That's different. Um, there's that which your analytical self believes, and then there is that which your greater self knows. Now, most of us, our beliefs fall somewhat short of what our greater self knows. But that's the whole object of the exercise, is you expanding and expanding and trying to know what your inner being knows to be true about the nature of the world, about the nature of yourself, about the nature of what's going on, about your uh, um, what it knows about the template of consciousness, what you start out with, as in what's the framework that your thoughts, your ideas need to hang on. There is a framework that they need to hang on. What is this framework? Well, it has to do with, first of all, imagine the physical universe, what it's actually doing. This universe of spinning plonks, and this universe of um, nested doll universes, Russian doll universes, and scales from the subplonk to the plonk to the universe to the, bigger than the, these enormous universal scales of energy and information, and how this whole thing is flowing, this black hole structure from the very tiny black hole protons out to the cosmic black holes, and what those look like, when you have a huge field of ether spinning with a singularity at the center of that, what that looks like, and what kind of gravitational forces pull that field in circulation around that. Imagine all of the physical universe. Imagine all of that. And then imagine yourself in it. And who you is you are two spinning vortices. Not one, you are two. One of you is the source, the one spinning with the rest of the field. This is your anchor. This is your grounding. This is who you are. You are one with the rest of the field. And at this level, you cannot be hurt. You are one with God. This is your connection to the divine. That's you in that full spinning field, everyone spinning together, no one spinning. And from that perspective, you can see and feel everything. You know you are not alone. All is well. That is your source self. That is your inner being, by the way. That is also your macro scale of energy and information coming at you from the rest of the universe, because you are a flow. You are a flow of energy and information that is flowing at two different scales. And these two scales that they are flowing at, this individual scale, which is your individual self, and this macro scale, which is your overview, your oversoul self. Those are the two flows of energy and information that you are. They also can be seen as apertures of perception. And what you actually need to do is line the two damn things up, or you're not seeing the world. It's like your smaller self is like a microscope, and then your larger self is the whole thing. But you got to line the two lenses up so that when you look through your microscope, you're accurately seeing what you're seeing. Because if you're looking through your microscope and seeing hateful things, things that you hate, things that you are so frightened about, things that you just cannot abide, things that you wish that you think should not be, then you are not seeing the whole picture, because your inner being knows dang well that all of it should be. And that you are you're just not lining up. So you're not seeing it properly. How do you line your two selves up? Hold on one second. I need to take a very quick break. Oh, I did. Okay. Got a little more than 10 minutes left on this show. We are driving to Arizona today, so I've got to cut this off here in a bit, and then we're going to go get ready and drive. Uh, but we're going to talk about, so what is my design? And how do I work this? How do I work this? Understand that we're going to be talking about what your emotions mean. Just when you have a negative emotion, it actually means two things. One is you've spotted something in the field that does not resonate with your core, something that feels uncomfortable because you feel that's not me. That's not source. That's flowing the wrong direction. It's rubbing me the wrong way, and I don't like it. And you don't have to like it. You aren't supposed to like it. That is step one. That's contrast causes you to ask for something more. But what it actually is you just noticed something that did not resonate with your core frequency. And that's fair. Now, you may want, because you are an aligner, you are a being of alignment. And the fact that we are out of alignment right now is what's causing humanity such tremendous difficulty. And so, as we rediscover this concept of alignment and get ourselves back into it, we will be all right. But until then, we have a lot of interesting things that we can understand as we are observing ourselves out of alignment. So, you observe something that does not resonate with you. Somebody's being mean to somebody, or somebody is murdering a an innocent animal, or there's something dirty or foul, or there's something that you don't like it rubs you the wrong way, and in your observing of it you experience a negative emotion. There's nothing wrong with that negative emotion. It is your calibration. It's actually calibrating your alignment. That feeling of lack of resonance reminds you, oh, that's not me, this is me. That's not me, this is me. That kind of thing just happened. Now, after having noticed the thing that you don't like, that is out of alignment, that does not resonate with you, you feel a desire to pull it back into alignment, to make it better, to soften it, make it more beautiful, to bring it back into harmony with the rest of the field, and the way to do it is not to charge in there with a SWAT team and grab the rapist and throw him into a hellhole until he, you know, regrets his decisions, or the beatings will continue until morale improves. The problem with that is that doesn't actually work, and you end up with a situation like we've got now, where on the one hand we depend on being able to throw the bad guys into prison, but then we got somebody at the top of the ticket who we can't checkmate. Somehow he keeps eluding us, and he keeps releasing all of his minions. He keeps running around to the prisons and letting them back out. It's like a game. It's like a game, and if you wouldn't take it so personally and so seriously, you could figure out how to win this game. But first of all, you got to figure out, so what is the game? The game is, you got to figure out who you are. You've got to understand how your game piece works, how it operates, and what's the rules in the field you've opened up your eyes. You're sitting in an avatar that has certain capabilities. Think of it as a meat vehicle, on an alien landscape. What's the object of the exercise? What's the object of the exercise? And how do you get what you want? Well, first of all, you have to understand that you are not just yourself. And that's why selfish pursuits and greediness and lack of empathy and those sorts of characteristics, why they don't go over very well, because that is what you're seeing when you see somebody who's displaying those characteristics. You see someone who is absolutely not in touch with their larger awareness of themselves as a greater being. You have to take care of your supply chain from your larger self. You can't, bite the hand that feeds you. You can't cut off all of your supply chains and then expect to still eat well tonight. You got to understand that you are not just yourself. You are a collective self that is handing it's producing food over here on the one hand, and distributing food with another hand, and with yet another hand producing this and this, communications and medicine and blah blah blah, all of that. We are a collective being, and so when we build our systems for ourselves collectively, they must, and I mean must, be in alignment with who and what we really are, and what our goals and situation actually is, or what the consequences, what will happen if you build systems that are not in alignment. Then they are faulty systems, and we'll unpack it in a very mundane way, how you can see how this works, how the Shiva energy is actually created. It's very mundane. How the demonic energy, the Loki energy, how it's created, it's very mundane. You build systems out of alignment, not understanding who we are, and then because they were not made with the guidance of the self that actually knows the shape and knows what's needed, you did it on your own without her help. And so there's flaws in the system. And what happens with the flaws represent places where human beings are not, their needs are not addressed. And when any human being's needs are not addressed, it is a potential landmine in the field of humanity. Parents who cannot feed their babies, people who cannot care for the ones that they love, who are frightened for their children, for their wives, for their parents, for themselves. Desperate people do desperate things. They do things outside the law. They do things outside the order that we have set as humanity. But that's only when we set that order, when we do it out of alignment. Because anything that we do in alignment with who and what we really are is in alignment with the field, and stands a very higher chance of being closer and closer and closer to actually filling all of our needs. The problem with our analytical mind is our analytical mind often wants things that the greater self doesn't want. That is the definition of out of alignment. When my small self wants things that my greater self does not want, that means that my greater self is wanting things that I'm not paying attention to, because I'm paying attention to something that she isn't paying attention to. And that is the very meaning of your emotions. That's exactly. So you are these two selves that are meant to be sort of superimposed over one another. And when they are superimposed over one another, you feel positive emotion. You have guidance from a higher perspective. You are dancing in order and harmony with the field around you. As you pursue your own needs, it is not stepping on the needs of others, not in any meaningful way. You can have a a competition on the surface. You just can't declare war on the field. You declare war on the field, you declare war on yourself because you are the field. And you will find that when you conquer the field, then you yourself are laying there bloody and broken, in a field that doesn't work anymore. And you go, oh, damn, I've cut off my own supply chain. So that's why it's so important to understand who we are. Ultimately, we have to understand who we are, or we're going to keep doing this. This authoritarian thing that's going on right now in the United States, this little moment that we're having, that's going to keep happening. Because we can defeat this particular autocrat. He's not going to be that hard. As a matter of fact, he's falling apart right in front of us. Thank God. All of us are like just gleefully waiting for this to tumble down so that we can get back to, whatever. But we're not going back. You got to remember this, people. We are not going back. So the democracy that we need to find is a democracy and a freedom and an order and a justice in front of us. It's not the one behind us. The one behind us was deeply flawed, which is why MAGA rose in the first place. It rose from the discontent of people whose needs were not being met, who were now not being met because they themselves also didn't understand, blah, 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 blah. Well, the whole point, the whole object of the exercise, I believe, well, the first object of the exercise, and then after that we can pick new objects. But the first object of the exercise of humanity needs to be understanding who we are and what the F is this field of energy and information that we are swimming in. How do you operate within it? How do you get the most out of it? How do you cooperate with the largest portion of it in order that because we all do better when we all do better. When you are cooperative with the whole field becomes your harmonious cooperative components to the ventures and projects that you imagine. But we've got to know ourselves. The anti-MAGA movement at the moment is polarized also. Maybe less polarized than MAGA itself, but MAGA and anti-MAGA are both polarized against one another. And both of them carry a mindset. And one of them is a mindset of we're all in this together, yes, but it's still operating on the old-fashioned framework of law and order, the criminal justice system. You run afoul of the criminal justice system and you will be punished. That's part of the old order that still has to go, by the way. Now, one of the reasons that it needs to go is because we don't need to be punished into better behavior. We need to be understood and soothed into better behavior, encouraged into better behavior, rehabilitated into better behavior, loved and calmed into better behavior. We don't know. It is very much like the beatings will continue until morale improves. Well, you're not going to improve morale by beating people. Now, you might say, well, I don't want to improve morale. I want to improve their behavior. But you actually do want to improve their morale. And improving their morale will improve their behavior. And actually building systems that cover their needs will help all of their disorderliness. When we build systems where everybody is considered, where everybody's needs are met, where everybody gets a chance to have a little vacation every year, everybody has plentiful food to eat, everybody has a decent home to live in if they want it. I mean, everybody has the opportunity to rise to the level in society, and the level being whatever ability they have. Society is designed to figure out what it is and encouraging it and help it rise. That's the humanity we need to be. Now, I know it sounds like I'm not being realistic. And in a way, I'm not being realistic. I'm being idealistic in a real world. And I want to talk to us more about the actual nature of actual reality. Because you actually have to operate through the ideal in order to cause the real to shift, or at least to cause it to shift towards the better. You can operate from a realistic perspective and focus baldly and starkly upon the aspects of reality that we have that we do not like, and keep focusing on them and focusing on them and focusing on them, especially making sure that we focus on this, how it feels, all of those bad feelings, and focusing there. We can focus there, and we can cause ourselves to fly in the direction of a dark universe. But we don't really want to do that. The object of the exercise is to fly our light vehicles, our starships, into universes of our more of our pleasing. There is more than one version of Earth. There's the version of Earth that blew itself up. There's the version of Earth that almost made it. There's the version of Earth that really made it. There's the version of Earth where everybody's happy. There is every version of everything everywhere. The universe is so big, and there are so many frequencies, that there is enough to handle any experience you want to have. You just have to understand who you are, that you are made of light. You are a chooser. You are a pointer. You are a preferrer. You are a consciousness, a choosing experience as you fly through this divine matrix. Who are we? Who are we? I didn't get very far in specifically talking about how to manage your own personal emotions, how to understand that whenever you experience an experience of negative emotion, what that actually means. It never, ever, 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 ever means that you or anyone else has no value, has no worth, has no meaning. It never means that. It means other things, but it doesn't ever mean that. So if you have a sinking feeling about yourself, it never means you're not worthy. It just means that your two selves are crossing themselves instead of focusing together. One eye is looking this way and the other eye is looking that way, like a chameleon, you know? Like a chameleon, which I have a picture of one of those. Shoot, it appears that my never mind. I was going to take you to my picture of my chameleon, but it's not. Um, my external hard drive appears to be unplugged. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, I'm going to head off to my weekend. I should be back in my studio on Monday. That's the 5th. And If I feel like it, I'll make another show, and if it's good, I'll post it. I'm going to post this one. I have no idea how it will land, whether anybody will watch it, and that is not my business. It is my business to be authentically myself and to follow the impulses that I am getting coming from my source, and everything else is the universe's job to sort it out. Love them all. Let God sort them out. And until next time, do your best. Hang in there, and may that source be with you. May the source be with you.